Wall.
Yeah, forbiddance, that doesn't help us. Harm, I mean, it's a lot of damage, right?
Heal is not bad.
Yeah, heal is not bad. Yeah, forbidden.
Heal used to be so much better.
70 points. A hero's faced or planar ally are probably the two best that I pick up here.
Hey everybody, we're live now. Welcome back to Dragon's Keep TV. Mark is trying to figure out how to level up his character.
I'm talking strategy here with my key strategist.
Oh, okay.
Eddie is not a strategist, nor is Mark. So
there you go.
See. I'm pretty good in the moment. I'll think of dumb things to do.
Should we talk about what we think the men's aquarium fight's going to be, or do you think that'll just make it worse?
It'll make it worse.
Yeah.
Planning usually.
Right, I'll just be like, oh, that's a good idea.
Just a waste of time because you're either giving the DM ideas.
All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you're setting up this flimsy thing that doesn't ever really go off.
Right.
It's true. It's a lot funner in the moment.
Well, I mean, you do have to do some planning.
Yeah.
Of course.
Well,
something has to be decided, but often I don't know how many plans I've seen go right out the window. Literally.
Yeah. Hey everybody, welcome to Dragon's Keep TV. I'm Ryan, your host, and, well, not the GM today, but normally the host and GM. Today we're getting ready for, we're taking a breather. We're taking a breather before the final fight this season, this campaign even. We're talking about different options for next year and what we're going to do. So, who knows? Anything's possible. Anything's possible. But what we know is that we're finally going to resolve this whole Shadow Leviathan storyline, and that's resolving storylines not something you always get to do in D&D. So
yeah, well, either we'll get them or we'll get got.
Yeah.
One of the two.
We'll see what's going to happen. Anyway, that'll be next Monday. We play every Monday from 7 to 9 here at Orem, Dragon's Keep, in the basement. And it's a lot of fun.
Where we belong.
Where we belong, in the basement.
That's where we belong.
Friggin' basement.
And we are going to be playing next week, and then we'll be getting stuff ready for the new year after that. So we'll be taking a break for a little bit. You'll see some replays and whatnots on the channel.
Greatest hits.
Greatest hits, yes. Kelvin's greatest hits.
This will be a short video.
We'll just need to get a master cut.
Yeah, very short video
Of all of the split nights, right?
Yes. But we'll be replaying some stuff and just maybe doing some chats and stuff like that, and then we'll kick off a new campaign in end of January or beginning of February, something like that. So
I'm just excited I get to be here for the finale.
Yes.
Just
so let's
happen to work out.
Yeah.
Can't believe it.
Glad you're back for Christmas again.
Yeah.
It's just a temporary thing for the moment.
Yep.
We're gonna need your character. That's
Yeah.
We need everybody we can get. So it should be a lot of fun. Let's just kind of, what we're doing tonight is we're just going to chat. I don't know if we're going to go a full 2 hours, if we're going to go an hour and a half. We're going to go 45 minutes, get tired of each other, or Mark tries to choke me out or something. I don't know. Anything's
not
possible.
on my
That's
plan.
good. That's good content.
It is. I mean, it would be
Viewership up.
We could definitely engineer some beef.
What is
throw
Subscriber count through the roof.
Next year we're no longer playing in person.
Yeah.
What was here's a question for everybody. And by the way, everybody, this is Mark, this is Jared, and this is Jason. And this is kind of nice that we have the group that we have today. Mark has been here the whole time.
I missed a couple of weeks, but here and there.
The whole time.
Yeah.
Jared was with us when we started and then moved away. He's back visiting for the holidays. We're glad to have him back. And Jason's new blood and joined us for this season. And so we can talk about all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. And we had talked about running another, maybe other systems next season. Is that still on the table and what we think we're going to do?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There are some systems I like more than others.
Sure.
I prefer Pathfinder
to
most editions of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. I need to play an ongoing game that lasts more than half a session.
Right, because you forget everything.
And here's a fun comparison. Like you mentioned, they did the Pathfinder Remastered last month.
Yep.
and they're doing the updates to the 2024 core rulebook for Dungeons & Dragons in May. There's lots of stuff in the new Dungeons & Dragons core handbook that I'm like, but the Pathfinder Master, I'm like, oh yeah, that's great.
It's basically like a comprehensive errata.
Yeah.
With a few, like, look, they have to distance themselves from the OGL.
Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
there
So
are
they
things
changed
that
the
have to
name,
change.
some stuff like flat-footed
Right.
is off guard. So there's like some little.
There's some verbiage changes, but they did kind
Yeah.
of, they changed some wordings, they
Yep.
clarified a few things, and
there's
they
some
did add some
mechanics
stuff.
changes, but
But
it's
but my
It is
point,
more of an errata.
yeah, but my point is it's overwhelmingly positive from my point
yeah,
of view.
yeah.
When the stuff from the 2024 core rulebook for Dungeons & Dragons, there's a lot of it that I'm very on the fence on.
Well, I think the question is like, when you release a new version, how much of the old published material have you just phased out?
Yeah, crumpled up
Like
and thrown in the
content,
trash.
not rule books, but basically like
Yeah.
is in the dustbin because
Can we no longer play Curse of Strahd? Can we no longer play...
without some kind of like comprehensive. Okay, I got to sit down and convert everything. The Pathfinder remaster is, as near as I can tell, and I was just actually flipping through the GM core today, is pretty. I could pick up any second edition.
It's about as perfect as you
And
can get for a remaster.
easily moded over. Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
it's actually, and the thing that's honestly one of the best is the book is readable now. That was the biggest hurdle.
It is a big book.
That was the biggest hurdle to get people into Pathfinder Second Edition, in my opinion, was the way the book was structured and organized. It was so hard to find anything.
Yeah.
But since it's been remastered, it's all right there, like in areas that make sense, and it's easy to understand where you are and where you need to be. And like I said, the verbiage is better. Yeah. There's a lot that's good. And I followed the play test for Dungeons & Dragons fairly closely, especially on the classes that I'm interested in. And there's a lot in there where I'm still...
See, I just got disenfranchised with trying to follow it all because I used to go and follow every Unearthed Arcana that came out.
We talked about it.
Listen to content providers that were talking about that and you know what does it mean and what.
At some point you got to go to work, right?
Right.
You got a job you got to do.
Yeah.
Stick on YouTube all the time or always reading news.
So annoying.
I know.
Jobs.
But like, there's not to say that there's stuff I like, it's not all bad, the 2024.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have fun playing just about any system, but from a mechanical standpoint, there's some things in there that don't make sense to me.
I would like a system. The reason I like Pathfinder and the reason I like D&D is because they have a good leveling system.
Yeah.
And I realize that one of the things I love to do is level up my character.
I think how I would word that is character expression.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can express your character really well in
Sure.
Pathfinder.
And so switching to a system that's character light or rules light almost always means it's also really hard to level up. It's also really hard to
increase
power or just get new things and stuff like that. So like I played kids on bikes with my kids and with my neighbors and stuff like that a couple of times, but I couldn't think of a way to possibly, although it's a fun little setting, like what's the way that you keep a campaign going with that?
Right. Well, it's just like why you end up with why Dungeons & Dragons morphed into what it is today, because just kicking down the dungeon door after a while isn't fun anymore.
Yeah,
You've got to do something different. Right?
So-
You've got to
I will agree with you in general. Generally, rules light systems are less expressive. It's harder to gain powerful and feel like you're actually the guy making a difference in the world. I have come across one that I really, really like that I would recommend for anybody who likes rules light systems that wants to play for, more than just a couple of sessions.
Right.
But it's called Break.
Okay.
It's actually a more like. The way that they pitched it is it's a mix between like something like The Legend of Zelda and Studio Ghibli's anime. You mesh those two worlds together and you have Break. It was kickstarted last year.
I was just going to ask you, did they do a Kickstarter for that thing?
They did a big
I can't
Kickstarter.
Something about that.
And it's actually really good. I have the PDF for it. And I ordered a book, but it hasn't shipped yet because it's shipping from the UK.
Oh, it's got too many exclamation points in the title.
What's that?
It's got two exclamation points.
points.
Yeah,
I'm just bringing it up so people can see it.
it's a really cool rules light system. I actually really like it.
I like the
gonna
art.
say-
The art's
I was
very
gonna
anime,
ask,
Studio Ghibli art. Yeah.
Good. Here's a good question. Like if the scale is like narrative to crunchy,
Yeah.
I'm in the middle.
where do you like to sit?
I'm
More
more
crunchy.
crunch.
I lean crunch.
Yeah.
for sure.
And that's I can have
Not that I can have fun narrative.
I can have let's put
But
it this
I
way.
lean crunch.
I will enjoy being on the crunch end of the spectrum way more than being on the narrative end of the spectrum. I don't want to sit down at a table to play an audiobook with you guys.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
much rather sit down and play a really crunchy role-playing game than a really narrative-heavy.
Crunchy's also easier to just sit down and play with a group of strangers or
Yeah.
relative strangers because it's more narrative. You have to trust the
Well,
people
and
you
you also
play
have to-
with
Right.
you also have
to
to-
like play in the spirit of
Yes.
the
Right.
game as opposed to
Yes.
like just come up with some ridiculous
And-
nonsense and
And
just
I
like,
also think
You can't have three people playing serious characters and one person show up and try to be
Yeah.
Bozo the Clown.
And I also
Yeah.
think you have to put
Although
a
here we
lot
can
of
have 3 people playing something and somebody show up and call themselves Huggles.
But I think you also, to your point, I think you also really have to put a lot more trust in your DM to run a narrative-based game.
yeah,
Yeah.
it has to be like that's what I mean. Like you have to really
You have to buy in.
a
Yeah.
group that like gets each other.
Which is
to
why
have a successful narrative, or people that have just experience playing there. Like, what are some narrative driven? Like the
Vampire.
Dune, like the Dune
Oh,
system
yeah.
is very
Dune.
narrative. Call of Cthulhu probably leans more narrative. There's still a little
Yeah.
bit of crunch, but I think it leans left of the
Yeah.
left of center.
Vampire
And then-
Masquerade is very narrative.
Yeah. If I want to go all the way right, do you guys remember what's that name? Rollmaster.
Rollmaster.
Remember
Never
Rollmaster?
played
Rollmaster.
You had to roll the D100 for every single like a crit. You got to
there's
roll
also-
D100 like
there's
3
also
times. Which
things-
part of your body? Which
Yes.
Yeah.
tendon? That was like
There's also
fun.
there was
I
also
enjoyed
like
it.
riffs
Riffs,
and
Riffs, yeah.
cyberpunk.
GURPS, yeah.
Oh, Cyberpunk crunch, super crunchy.
It can get real crunchy real fast.
Yeah, GURPS is could be great. I mean, yeah. Just the concept. It's like, oh, you want to do space?
But I always really liked
Yeah.
like I don't mind rule systems that also are more center. Like I would put even advanced second edition more center than crunchy to the others.
Really?
Yeah. I actually went through and
So many tables in that.
there are so many tables.
But when you make once you make a choice, there's not a lot of sub choices.
Right.
You make one choice,
And then, like-
and then that's it.
and also
right?
crunchy implies that there's a lot of math to figure out something even like your skills.
Right.
So like we'll take third edition or Pathfinder for example. There's the modifier, there's the rank for your skill, there's sometimes a racial thing. There could be 4 or 5.
Obviously, in game design, there must be a number that they
Yeah,
try to
there's
cap.
Yeah, there's 4 or 5 different numbers that go into figuring out what you add to your skill. In advanced second edition, it comes down to 1 or 2 things depending upon the rules you're using. It's either roll under your ability score,
Or over the.
or you're using the proficiency rules, and you just roll under the percentage.
Yeah, percentiles.
And that's it. It's not a and even there it's not necessarily a set number. If you can get within a certain range, you still succeed, but there's a but.
Yeah.
And so
I like those. I like those conditions. I'd like to see more monsters like that. With the, if you save, you get less effects, but you still get this negative effect. I like those a lot. I try to every time I find a monster like that. I
see
try
that
to
a lot
pull
in
it.
Pathfinder
Pathfinder.
second edition.
Okay.
Can I tell you a
Makes a lot
Pathfinder
of
story
sense.
that we just ran into that I loved so much? So
Okay.
I have a friend's game that I play on Fridays or Saturdays, whichever
you guys
schedule
can do
works
it.
out. And
Ghost is back.
oh man. And so
What are you playing?
we're playing the Abomination Vaults.
Oh, no. Where are you?
We just got to the second level on it.
Second level of the vaults.
Yeah, the first level of Underground.
Yeah. Okay.
And
I'm
then-
playing the same one.
wow.
We just
Oh, okay.
we just started book 2.
Oh wow!
So we
yeah, we're
cleared
just
the
yeah, we're
we
still
already we had one complete.
Abomination.
Anyway, go ahead.
For
Yeah,
those
yeah.
of you who have no idea what they're talking about, Abomination Vaults is a module, for lack of a better term.
Adventure
Yeah.
Path.
Yeah, it's
Adventure Path.
for Pathfinder second edition, and Pathfinder is very well known in the community for their adventure paths, their stories, and they're really well written, and they can get pretty intense pretty quick.
Yeah.
Here, I'll bring up the splash page for.
But anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just
No. I interrupted. We interrupted and interrupted.
Okay, so here's here's the story. There is a hallway that's a crypt. It's got crypts on each side, and you run into a shadow creature there. And
screams level trains.
Yeah, well, no, it's not. This is the best part.
Worse.
It's worse. It's so much better.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
So this one, she will attack and she'll like disappear and then come up in your shadow and then like attack you from behind and stuff. And every hit does negative damage and does a bunch too.
Mm-hmm.
So like it almost
it's a wicked hit to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bad hit to begin with. And our characters are level 3, and so they've got some hit points, but like she could have TPK'd people if I hadn't seen her secondary ability and been like, no, we have to keep the party alive and I have to keep the secondary ability going. Because what she does is let me find it.
Is it Elater effects?
Are you running it?
Yeah, I'm running it right now. So, and I was so happy when I just decided this is just what's going to happen. And they'll kill this creature or whatever, but let me bring it up. So the secondary ability, though, is when she attacks, she makes, you roll a save, and if you fail a save, you get a level of enfeeblement. And then if you get 4 levels of enfeeblement, because what she's doing is she's ripping your shadow off of you like Peter Pan style.
So she's basically giving people levels of exhaustion.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get to 4,
dead.
Once you get to 4 levels of enfeeblement, your shadow becomes completely detached, and then starts trying to attack you too, and will keep trying to attack you until you are fully rested up. And all of your levels of enfeeblement are gone.
Okay.
And that takes 1 hour per level of enfeeblement. So it's the Major Dome. In case anybody's Abomination Vaults, I'm searching for it so we can show it up here. Anyway, once I saw what was going to happen with that, and I
Are you
realized,
looking for the creature itself?
Yeah.
Go to PF2 Easy.
Okay.
And just search the creature name. And like every single thing in every path, it's perfect. That website is the best.
PF2 Easy? Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't used this one. I've used the
Archives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one's...
The balance of the two is great.
Okay.
Like having them both up. PF2 Easy is genius. Every rule's in there. Like you could play the whole game with just PF2 Easy if you knew. Like all the rules are in there. Every creature from every adventure path's there.
All right, so here we go. Steel Shadow, or Shadow Spawn. When the Shadow... Okay, Steel Shadow. This is the one that I was like, wait a minute, this is going to be awesome. Requirement. The Shadow hit a living creature with a Shadow hand strike on its previous action. Effect. The Shadow pulls at the target's shadow, making the creature enfeebled 1. This is cumulative with all ever enfeebled conditions from shadows to a maximum of enfeebled 4. If this increases a creature's enfeebled value to 3 or more, the target's shadow is separated from its body and then spawns as a shadow. It is perpetually and incurably clumsy too, so it's not that great of a creature. But
that's not its point.
No, it's not its point.
Yeah.
Its point is that it can disappear into shadows and stuff and everything.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this is going to be awesome, because now for the next 3 hours,
they're just going to get harassed.
I can harass them with this shadow. And so I got one of the creatures before, and this is a great creature because it has resistance everything 5, and which is awesome. So it's really hard to kill and stuff. So it lasted long enough just solo against 4 players that I was able to get one of their shadows detached. And now basically the game now is just for the next 3 hours of game time. Anytime they get into a fight, or basically they have to spend the next 3 hours of game time constantly like shining a light around to keep the shadow away, and then when they do get in a fight and get distracted from doing that, then the shadow will pop up and I can attack them.
It changed the whole nature. The next session, whatever it is basically a horror session.
Yeah, exactly. So these extra things that creatures do that they put the thought in Pathfinder to add to creatures and stuff, the extra conditions that they do, is really attractive to me. I really like the role-playing that spawns out of that.
Right, because that's what's fun is giving a mechanic that then needs to be role-played and dealt with, in my opinion, that isn't tiresome. Because there are mechanics that are just tiresome, and it's like, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to track rations.
Okay.
Let's have that kind of campaign. Okay.
Some people enjoy that kind of gameplay.
I know they do. I don't.
I'm not saying I'm one of them. But
you ration counter? An arrow counter?
But what I do think we used to see a lot more of in the early days of game development, and I think this is true not just of tabletop games but also of video games, is you'd see a lot more passion in it. This to me speaks as a monster that somebody was like, wouldn't it be really cool if it did something like this?
Yeah.
When again you can compare it to other even video games or other tabletop RPGs when it's very generic, it's very static. You're just like, we're just putting out the content every 3 months so somebody will buy the new book. It's pretty stark difference. So yeah, I like things like that.
Yep. So what other systems have people played that might be fun? There's a bunch of new ones. There's Blades in the Dark, but I don't know how lovely that one is.
I don't know Blades in the Dark.
My friend just got it and wants to play a
listen to a podcast of people playing it. It sounds really fun.
Okay.
It's also very narrative.
Okay.
At least the way they're playing it is.
Right.
But yeah.
Well, there's a whole controversy, I guess, about how much Critical Role borrowed from Blades in the Dark to make their new
Candela Obscura.
Yeah, Candelabra.
So anybody who makes a game, I'm pretty sure you can be like, oh, that's a lot like this game.
Yeah. Sure.
I mean, it happened to Dungeons and Dragons in the 80s and 90s all the time.
Sure.
So whether they did or didn't, I have no idea. I've seen no evidence one way or the other. But I have seen a lot of Matt Mercer's work, and he doesn't strike me as the type to just steal stuff from a bunch of people.
Yeah,
no, and they give it. They actually give credit in the book too. That says like,
the amount of content I've seen that guy create, I can't imagine he would have to resort to something like that.
Yeah, and so I mean, sure, maybe there was a little bit of inspiration there, but I doubt they just ripped off the system. I highly doubt it.
I am interested in their other new system, Daggerheart. It seems interesting because you roll 2d12s.
Yeah, I haven't
I
haven't heard much about that one. I don't know anybody who's played it.
I saw some reviews from people that played it at Gen
So
Con
your
and
range is
stuff.
2 to 24 with a mean somewhere around 12-ish.
Yeah, and then there's a weird. Well, I would like to see how this works, but there's a weird how initiative works. Now it depends on which die you roll. Which of the 2d12s that you roll is higher, and you have like a good one and a bad one. And if the bad one is higher, then the monsters get to go next turn. If the good one's higher, then you get to go again.
And you resolve initiative every round?
Every time you roll, basically.
Wow.
Well, I mean, in second edition, it used to be a D10, and it was every time you rolled.
I know, I remember.
But I mean, there are more complicated ways to figure out turn orders for sure.
We even still, after they went to a static, we still rolled a D10 because I thought rolling a 20 for initiative felt weird for some reason.
Really?
Oh yeah, for years I still required a D10 for initiative.
How does everybody feel about systems that only use one die, like D6 systems?
Unfortunately,
Break only uses one die. It just uses a D20.
Okay.
I don't care. I don't care how many dice you roll. I like rolling dice, but I care more about whether the game is fun to play or not.
Okay. Have you played single dice?
I think my favorite system ever is a single die. I think you and I have talked about this. It's the old Star Wars.
Oh, that's a
D6.
good system.
It's all D6s.
We were talking about that the other day too.
It's one of the absolute best. And even the way you leveled up was really, really well done. with like it'd be like a D6 plus 1, 2, 3, and then you'd flip over to a whole new die.
Yep.
I remember that.
It was fantastic.
I remember that system.
Really fun.
I remember that system being a little on the crunchy side, but that may have just been my young teenage brain.
It was crunchy in that there were a ton of options. So when you talk about character expression, you really, like, you started with a template character, like, oh, I'm a smuggler, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you could start just completely fresh and assign points however you wanted to. And once I knew it enough and created enough characters, that's what I started doing.
Mm-hmm.
But you start with that, and then you can decide, you know what, I'm going to go off in this direction, and instead of increasing my flying, I'm going to go combat or whatever, right?
Is this? Are we talking about a system that was in the 90s?
Yes.
The 90s,
80s, 90s, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure.
It was
it was-
most popular.
West End Games?
Yeah,
Yeah.
West End Games.
Yeah, West End Games originally published.
And
it.
so you would get every session, you would get a certain number of points, and you could spend those points. Like what Jared was saying is that, like, you have, say, 3d6 in your blaster ability,
Yeah, I
right?
remember.
Your shooting ability, and then you could spend 3 points to move it up to 3d6 plus 1. And then you could spend 3 points again to go 3d6.2.
Yeah, I remember
And then once you
that.
wanted to go past 2, you had to spend 4 points to go to 4d6.
Yeah.
And so every time you got above 2, basically where the halfway point is, right? Then
Every time you get plus 3, then you just have another die.
And so then you could, what it allowed is the more dice you got, the more you leveled up, also the more actions you got. Because the rule in the game was that if you wanted to take more than one action in a turn, you took a dice off of everything that you did.
Yeah.
Right? And so you get your shooting ability up to like 5d6 plus 2. And then you're like, okay, I want to shoot twice. Well, you roll 4d6 for each shot.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, cool.
And the better you got, the harder it was to get each increment, or the more you had to put into each.
Right.
So if
So-
you like get 8D blaster, it's like it takes a lot just to make the next.
Exactly.
But the starship combat rules were awesome.
Oh no, it was 30 points. Huh? It was times 10 or times 5 or something like that. It was whatever the dice was times 10. So if you wanted to go up to 4d6 and you needed 30 experience points, you got like 5
See, and
every session.
Remember the starship,
Starfinder, yeah.
the star
Starship.
combat rules
Yeah.
were just
sure.
there was like a maneuverability score, a speed, so you didn't like you could imagine it in a 3D setting without having to like play it out to.
You didn't have to map it.
Because that was maneuverability, speed, shields,
Yeah.
and those were all skills.
Yep.
And then there was the ship base plus the skill of the pilot.
And you had ship-based gunnery,
Yeah,
which
it
was a
was
different
just-
skill.
How available are those rules?
I'm gonna play it. I'm
I
gonna
still
go
have the book.
play that freaking game.
I'm sure, I'm sure there's PDFs
They
you can get online.
no, they I don't know if you can still find it. They remastered the original rulebook
yeah.
recently, like within the last few years. That's
Oh, I didn't
recently.
have that.
But is
I
it
have
the
the
same
one that came out in the
rules, or
late
did they
90s.
update it to like a 5e rule set?
No, it's still the D6 rules. It's the
okay.
original rule set. There was so much content for that system too. I mean, I'm talking about
Well, there are a few things that has more content in it than Star Wars.
No, you're right. Fantasy Flight Games put out
Yeah, that's
the
right.
30th anniversary edition of it. Wow, it came out in 1987. And so
the 30th anniversary. No,
so in,
what?
in I'll put this up. I don't know if you can buy it from there still, but you can probably find it at different places. It is a fun game.
And you can find the PDFs online pretty easily, but they had like every movie had its own source book. Then they had
wow.
an Imperial source book, which had
Yeah.
like it had stats for the Death Star.
It had
Stats for like an Imperial Star Destroyer, 76 turbo lasers, and how much the gunnery was. So like,
I learned how to play Sabak from Sabak from the game. I learned a lot. Yeah.
great game, and the tons of like modules or adventures that were great walkthroughs. I mean, and I'm talking like, I have a pretty healthy PDF club. Let me all this stuff.
I think we may have unintentionally stumbled into
I want to go.
an unhealtty relationship
The-
here.
My kids just signed up for a campaign and they don't even know it yet.
They all just got a
Playing this
ticket.
game.
The Force rules were really
Care what
cool
you
too
say.
because you had different skills in the Force that you could use, and you had to balance.
But you had to. How did you get your midi chlorines up?
All right,
Yeah,
this is just the
midi-chlorians?
PDF.
Before midi-chlorians were invented.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's no joke. It's no
Before they
joke.
were some.
See, that's what I'm talking about. That's a passion project
We
right
haven't
there.
discovered them
Somebody was like, "Man, this is going to be great."
Yeah, it was such.
See,
I mean, they had these galaxy guides. They published almost
Yeah.
20 of them, and they're like Galaxy Guide 10, Bounty Hunters.
Bounty
the
Hunters.
whole thing was
and,
just
and it was
the world of
adventures.
bounty hunters,
And then they had
adventures,
in them.
lore,
Yeah.
equipment, 11 criminal organizations, alien elements. It's just like they went deep.
Yeah.
They went deep. It was so great.
It was basically the expanded universe that you always wanted from a Star Wars
Yeah.
thing. And there are some shows that there's some movies we watch where it's like, okay, here you go. When we first started watching The Mandalorian, my wife turned to me and she's like, "It feels like we're playing the game again.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like a story from somebody's role-playing game that they've turned into a TV show,
Yeah.
and it's great.
It was because it was
Had
more
everything
like
that you wanted to have.
grittier.
Yeah.
It was like more like I don't know.
See that was so I played some of the Marvel game back in the day.
The base rip system?
Yeah.
The
It's
D10s?
D10s, yeah, 100 D100s and stuff. And the character creation was a lot of fun, but yeah, the combat was just so weird and just didn't make a lot of sense. And the way to level up.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna play, if you're gonna play a superhero Marvel game, combat needs to feel good.
It's so because that's all they do, right?
Yeah.
That's what I was watching. I just saw the preview for the Aquaman, and then I watched all of Godzilla and thought, why can't more people make movies like this? Because all of the action shots that I saw cost 4 times what these guys put into this, and looks terrible because it's just a bunch of shit flying past the screen so fast you can't see anything.
Yeah.
And Godzilla's really good. I don't know if we said that earlier on the
We were
stream.
talking
Is
about
that the new
before.
Godzilla
Have you seen
minus
it yet?
Yeah.
0 or something?
It's minus one.
No,
I
but
was talking
minus one.
I was talking to these guys about it, and I was like, "It's a really, really good movie that they happen to fit Godzilla into."
It's the truth.
In like 4 days,
It's a
multiple people have suddenly. Has it come out recently?
yeah.
Yeah,
It came out on the
yeah.
1st.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why.
And
Because like in
it's-
4 days, I had like several trusted sources be like, "This
I'll give you
movie is
a
awesome."
very quick synopsis. It's a World War II movie about a disgraced kamikaze pilot, and Godzilla just screws up his life.
It
Yeah.
is bad.
Really good. It sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And they did it's just all of it. It's tiny. It has a really small scope and then a really big scope at the
Yeah.
same time, and,
Yeah, and
it
it's-
does a good job going back and forth.
And it's just about this poor guy and his little family just trying to get through life, and Godzilla just screws it all up.
again every time you turn
Damn
around.
Godzilla!
I know, how many million people were in Tokyo at the time?
And one of the best parts for me was that the Godzilla is 100% B-movie Godzilla, but he's supposed to be. It's
Yeah.
intentionally B-movie Godzilla.
awesome.
It looks like a guy in a suit, and
Yeah.
it's like they're taking little steps.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know, that's what I thought.
Is it in the
His
theater
feet
still?
are-
It
Yeah,
is.
you can still
His-
play it at
my
His
Megaplex.
feet are so huge,
I gotta
and he
see
barely even walks, so
Yeah.
it's like literally
He has one speed. It's
structured.
5 miles an hour.
Yeah,
unless he's underwater.
Yeah.
For some
underwater he's
reason.
cruising. Yeah,
We don't know why, because that is not water hydrodynamic things on his back at all.
dude, that was the shot from the ship, from the front of the ship with Godzilla behind him. I was like, this is good stuff.
Oh yeah. Oh, dude. All of it did such a great job.
It's very cinematic, like from a classical cinematography perspective.
Oh, I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know what it is.
Sorry.
I'm on it, but I don't know what it is. The password.
Don't worry
for
about it.
Oh,
Don't worry
well,
about it.
it's I've got it. Here, I'll show it to everybody.
Transmit it to the world. Like
Kinda
you
like
did your home address.
Home address and
Your home Wi-Fi password.
I dox my own Wi-Fi
And
password.
my social security number and all my banking information.
Oh, it's okay. I got life.
Anybody
I
can
can
come
say my social
park
security.
outside my house and get on my Wi-Fi. I haven't changed it. If you need Wi-Fi, stop by my house. You can get on.
The answer to the question you asked earlier as to what system do we want to play?
Yeah.
Maybe the question we need to ask first is what story do we want to tell?
That's the good point.
Because there are some.
Star Wars would be a different story than what you get out of.
Or do we want to play a horror game? Do we want to play high fantasy? Do we want to play low fantasy like Conan? Do we want to
I do have a place in my heart for sword and sorcery, like low magic, 1-3 level.
Yeah. Do we want to play an anime-based game like Break? Do we want to play a Western? Or do we want to there's a questions there,
Yeah.
and I can only speak for myself, but
We need a poll.
yeah.
We could ask the viewers.
There's the Wi-Fi password.
Oh.
Right next to that.
See, I think Pathfinder's probably the correct choice. It stays with the theme.
You guys are gonna make me so sad.
I really
Why would
like.
you
At least
do
that
that
would be
to
my
me?
vote
I really like Pathfinder
without
2.
any more thought to it.
I would be perfectly content playing Pathfinder 2A, 2E. I would if we're not going to play Pathfinder, I think it would be my suggestion to stick with an edition of D&D. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be 5th edition, and it doesn't have to be... Is this to me or to him?
Sorry to him.
It doesn't have to be 5th edition, and it doesn't have to be whatever the new one is going to be called, the 2024 one. But I think for the sake of people on the internet understanding what we're doing
Accessibility.
and accessibility to this group, I think it comes down to one of those two choices.
Or is it that we make changes between, we do shorter storylines in different systems?
Maybe.
I think we have an advanced enough group to do that.
I think we do too, but I'm a little bit selfish. And if we're going to play Pathfinder,
You're right.
I'd like to play a long. I'd like to play a long time. I'd like to have a complete story arc.
Have you seen how many Pathfinder adventure paths there are, though?
There's quite a few.
There's a lot to... It took my group 2.5 weeks to just choose one.
Oh,
before we finally...
we don't
So
have-
there's
We're just gonna play
in the
Adventure-
ones
Abomination
that,
Falls. Let's just
in
do it.
second
Fine.
edition they've been publishing in first edition they only published 6-volume adventure paths, so it would take characters from 1 to 18 to 20.
Yeah.
Wow.
And groups that have played those would say those take years, multiple years
Oh,
to
sure.
complete. But then, so for second edition, they started publishing both the full 6-volume, but they also published 3-volume adventure paths
That are like in different
Or
levels.
like 1 to 10, or 10 to like the higher level bracket, right?
And I'm fine doing something pre-written or something homebrew. I don't really care.
Yeah. Well, because if we wanted to do homebrew, we could do the Dawn of Worlds again, because I thought that was a fantastic way to get this
That
kickstarted.
was fun. How'd you like
That
that?
was
we
fun.
We haven't talked to you about it in a while. How'd you like that?
Oh, I thought it was fun. It was awesome.
I keep saying-
like
It's my next home campaign will be started with Dawn of Worlds. The character creation buy-in that it gets out of everybody is way too valuable for a home game.
I have no experience with Dawn of Worlds other than playing in a world that's already been created by it. And as far as being the guy who comes in new that the world's already created, I think the world we're playing in is great.
Yeah.
It's got history. It's got cool characters. It's probably just as well developed as some of the pre-written stuff other organizations have put out. I think it's good.
What I found that was really interesting is that the things that we came up with on the spot as everybody was having their own inspiration, and those characters, those images grabbed hold of other guys' minds, and they started to pull those characters through too, because they're like, I like this character so much, I want it to do these things too, you know?
yeah. Well, it's just like everyone started with a really good grounding in lore. Like if
Right.
you're gonna jump into Pathfinder, for example, not to keep coming back to the
Sure, of
best
course.
system. If you're gonna jump into Pathfinder, then it's like you're gonna either have to spend some time getting to know Galarian and the lore and everything, or pick it up as you go, which is also fine.
Yeah, but
And that's not a problem, but it was just like the immersive nature of like everyone was on the same page. We all built the world together. We all knew. It felt more familiar instantly because we were all there for it. That was, I think,
Well, yeah,
really
because,
cool.
Well, because that's one of the hardest things about getting yourself immersed in a role-playing world is because you want to have analogies of being able to say something like, "Hey,
Swipe through the
just like in
pages
New York
tomorrow
City,
again."
when I say that,
yeah, I know.
you know exactly what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
Instantly, and
just
there's
get a sense of like
lots of history
what's
and
in
depth
there,
to it.
like the
Yeah, it's
characters.
nice.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Reading table contents right now.
Yeah.
I'm just adjusting the screen here. Sorry, I'm paying attention to you, I promise.
No, you're good.
You know,
Oh, that's
this is
good.
dangerous because Darth Vader is my favorite villain ever.
Yeah. Of course.
Ever created.
Up
He's
to
got
what point though?
no ever.
Ever.
He's
Through his
got-
whole story arc, that's canon. in the
Yeah,
world.
he's got presence. He's got power. He's menacing. Like,
We could play Star Wars. We could do it.
like Darth
Twist your
Vader.
rubber arm, Ryan.
I know, because his stats in the Star Wars game.
for that.
And it's like,
If that's happening, I might move back from the Philippines.
and like
for
one of my favorite, and also one of my favorite things about Vader is he only expends the energy he needs to.
It's true.
Like in the Obi-Wan thing that came out in Disney Plus when he's fighting the not Sith. What are they called? The Inquisitors.
Yeah.
That Inquisitor chick. She's all swinging his lightsaber around. And he's just moving a single step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just like, you are almost not even worth my time. I'm just here because I'm mad that they got away, and I want to dick
Even
with
like
you
in
for
the
a
New
minute.
Hope where he gets into the rebel crew in the very beginning, he just like walks through the gap and he's
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
so boring.
Or when the door comes open in Cloud City and Han Solo
Oh yeah,
whips out the
he's
blaster,
just like,
he just goes,
yeah, he doesn't even pull out his
He's
lightsaber. He's just like, give me that.
Yeah.
Sit down.
exactly. We're done already. Sit down.
Like I love that.
Here's Darth Vader's stats for anybody that cares about this.
So it's that, like, there's like 40, 50 books.
Yeah,
of that
I
depth.
would sit down and just read those.
Okay,
Like,
so
look. Oh, did you want to know what the Compnor division of Imperial military apparatus
all in there.
organizational structure was? There it is.
a diagram of every rank, insignia, everything's in there. So good.
Yeah, here's how the Emperor grant. Here's how the Moff
I don't know
system
if I have
works.
time.
That's
for
pretty
this
cool.
system.
I mean, it's
this
no-
is the issue.
But
that's
how does
happening, you know.
how does Snoop fit into all this, or Snowed, or whatever the hell his name is from the First Order?
Yeah,
Oh,
she's out
that's what
there.
the ranks mean. I mean, it's like they went deep.
Yeah,
They went so deep. It's so good.
yeah.
Here's the best part. So Darth Vader's stats
Mm-hmm.
in that system. He had an 11d6 plus 2 with his lightsaber.
Just the lightsaber.
Just the lightsaber.
That's just
So-
he just hits you one
yeah.
time.
And so
And we just talked about how hard it is to even get to 5d6.
yeah, exactly. So like your defense on stuff, you're going to be rolling your dodge basically against him all the time. And say your dodge is even like 5d6, right? That means he can hit you, he can swing at you 3 or 4 or 5 times and still mathematically like have the advantage on every single hit. And be like, we're just going to waste you with my lightsaber.
And it
for
was
a
fun
round."
because, you know, like, it's 6-sided dice, so it's like you get your blaster up to like 5, 6, 7. You're like
Yeah.
7 dice.
yeah. Feels like a thunderous.
His
number.
his force abilities 11d1 for control, 12d1 for sense, and 11d for alter, which are they have different skill trees underneath those for different abilities and stuff like that. So if you want to levitate stuff or whatever, that's the kind of stuff you roll for that. Like he was just unstoppable. And
So if he
purposely made him
if he
force
wanted to
just
gain a
unstoppable.
level in something, let's say you said one of his force powers was 12d6.
Yeah, what's
so
the-
so he would have to get 12 times 10 experience.
Yeah, but remember he's got a Death Star, so you blow up one planet and then you get the experience from everybody on there.
Oh,
Which-
if you're the captain of, you're the leader of the ship, then you
In
get all
the lore, Vader has destroyed planets with just the Force.
I didn't know
You
that.
gotta, yeah, you'd have to expend 12 to get it from 12D to 12D plus 1.
Yeah. But then
And
it was
then
extra
plus
to go up to
again
the next
3
dice
more
level,
times.
right?
I can't remember.
So how many
Maybe. I can't
sessions
remember.
would it take for Vader to gain a level?
I think in
Just
any
one
like
thing.
any 3-4 hour session with a reasonable amount of combat,
You were
might
supposed to get 3 points every session.
Yeah, you'd get 3.
And then maybe 4 if you were
Yeah,
extra cool.
yeah. That's right.
So how many sessions does that math out to then?
So every session you can raise up something that's really low.
Right, but if he wants to rev up one of his force powers at 12d6,
Well, okay, so that's when it gets harder.
A month of sessions.
No, because
Move it up
it's
1d6.
to go up to an extra D, you multiply it by 3. So you go +1, +2, and then you go up an extra die. So if you're at 3d6, then it's 3 to go 3d1, 3d plus 1, 3 more to go to 3d plus 2, and then when you want to go to 4d6, it's 15 points because it's 3 times 5, or is it 4 times 5? Your current one multiplied by 3. So it's 9 points to go up to 4. So if you want to take your blaster from 5d6 to 6d6, it's going to cost you 15. So that's like 5 sessions before you can increase that one skill.
Yeah.
And you could go all in, right? But then everything else is.
So he's
suffering.
looking at almost 52. He's looking at somewhere like 40, 50 sessions.
Yeah, because he's got.
So
he's
that's
got
a year.
33.
That's a year every day for a year. Like that means what that means to me is Vader's stupid high level because he's got multiple stats that are above 10d6.
Yes. Yeah. He would be the equivalent of level like 50.
Yeah.
In
D&D terms.
If it existed, yeah.
There you go. Yeah, that's up there now. So.
Have you guys in the Abomination Vaults, have they fought the Morlocks and the Groth Glut?
They just barely
horrifying.
discovered the Morlocks, but they haven't fought them.
That's what wiped us.
They're running away from the Morlocks
sucks.
right now. Oh, really?
That guy just sucks.
They took the elevator down to the 3rd level for some reason, and I'm like, oh gosh.
It feels like he's like a lot in those first couple of levels feel way overpowered.
Yeah.
Like, how about Mr. Beak?
But they,
his
Mr.
vampiric
Beak was
touch.
rough on them.
Yeah.
But we played through the beginner box first, and I let them keep the levels from that.
Okay.
So they started at 2nd
That's
level.
good. That's how like
That
most
helped a
people
lot.
recommend starting Abomination Vaults.
Yeah, I can't imagine starting at 1st level. You would get TPK'd all the
You
time.
meet Mr. Beak who has vampiric touch.
Yeah.
Which has so basically if you get 0 hit points with a weapon of vampiric touch, that's permadeath. There's
And
no
there's
no dying one. They have like a dying 1, 2, 3
Yeah.
stages before you're done. You just skip all of it and that's
you're
it.
just dead.
You're done.
And that was especially rough because they split the party. Like 2 of them went in the
It's
door.
one of the classic bundlers.
Well, then you know what? They deserve to die.
D&D
Never
creatures
mind.
have that. If you brought to 0 hit points with this ability, you're dead. There are no death saving
Because they
throws.
don't want you to die.
Yeah, I know, but there should be more.
There were tons of those in Advanced Second Edition.
No, there were more than tons. It was every other one.
And in 3rd edition, they had less.
I mean, you had an entire line on your sheet that said "Death saves."
Yeah.
Save
Yeah.
against death.
Yeah.
Give me a death save.
Yeah. And then 4th edition, I can't remember. I can't remember all the different monster types. But in 5th edition, I think they only have. It's less than 5.
It's like aberrant.
Shadows is one of the ones that can kill you super dead, super fast.
Yeah.
And they drain levels. They don't drain hit points.
Does D&D
Mind flayers will kill you.
does 5e
Oh, yeah,
have massive damage rules?
No, they don't.
Yeah, 5e does.
Like you
5e does have
Oh, yeah.
massive damage.
5e
We used it
does.
last time.
Yeah.
If you take like what is it?
It's an alternate rule though. It's not a
right.
standard.
It's not a
rule.
core rule.
It's
yeah.
not. It's an alternate rule you can use if you deal damage over half of their hit points in one shot. Then
There's a system shock table.
There's a table that they roll on, and it can go. It's just a D10. Is that what it was?
It's a D10.
D10, yeah.
And if you roll a one,
then you die.
And which is what
Then
happened to his
automatically.
monster last time.
If you
Yes.
if you roll like a 2 or a 1, you're basically dead anyway.
Right. If you roll a 1, you're dead. If
Yeah.
you roll a 2, you're basically dead.
Yeah.
You're mostly dead.
But that's not,
Pathfinder is your maximum hit 2x your maximum hit points.
Right.
That's insta death. There's no table roll. You're
Yeah.
done. So if you have 20
Yeah.
hit points, you take 40. You're done.
Yeah.
But that's very. It's more possible than you think with like the way they handle crits.
Oh my gosh, I do like the crits.
I think the crits is
Pathfinder.
cool too.
well, but I mean,
It's,
if you're gonna, the reality is that any character in any, well, I don't know, there should be a chance for instant death, right?
Yeah.
Because that's real life. You can be instantly dead.
I like instant death, but one of the things I really like, and this might be an odd comparison, from something like Pathfinder Second Edition, and then take another kind of pseudo crunchy system. We'll say a combat heavy system, like Fourth Edition D&D. Fourth Edition D&D was combat heavy, but the combats would get real boring after like 3 rounds. Pathfinder, it's there's got a lot of good combat rules, and you can definitely spend a lot of time in combat. You can have combat heavy campaigns, but it still moves quick.
Yeah.
It's not boring.
It doesn't slog.
The action economy in Pathfinder is great because you just
Well, there's a lot of stuff you can do.
There's a lot
You
of
can
stuff-
attempt to trip. You can feint. you
yeah,
can,
and it's not
intimidate. You know,
You
without
get crits way more often too.
Yeah,
which is
crit
you're
a
not
lot.
stuck in a rotation.
Why do you get crits more often? It's still a D20. Why would there? Just because you
there's
roll more
the scale
chances?
the scale is critical success, success, fail, critical failure.
Gotcha.
A 20 moves you up one level of
So
success.
you get critical success by just having enough skill in something.
Yeah, so you can actually, so if their armor class is high enough and you roll a 20 that's a miss, you can actually turn a miss into a hit because you move up one level of success. What normally happens is it's a hit, but because you roll a 20, it becomes a crit. But the other rule is if you beat the armor class, if the total of everything beats anything by 10, beats or misses by 10.
10 or more.
10 or more, it becomes a crit.
That's amazing too, because then it scales
armor class of 20, roll everything up,
that
you get a
scales
30.
up. That makes larger monsters even scarier.
Yeah.
Because if you can't handle the plus that they're taking at you, you got to get out.
And what's also cool is...
And it makes it so high-level monsters, like, just auto-crit low-level things all, immediately. All the time.
Which is the right idea, right?
Because if you look at high-level creatures in Pathfinder, you're talking armor classes in the 40s.
Yeah.
Easily.
Because unlike 5th edition, your armor scales with your proficiency.
Yeah, it's not capped.
Because a third-level character could have a 22 AC in second edition, or in
second
fifth
edition Pathfinder right now, I have a second-level cleric using the remastered rules, and when I raise my shield, I have a 22 AC.
Right. But I'm going to say in D&D that's the case, but there's nothing that scales. A level 20 monster is still
25 to hit,
has to get a 22,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's when coming to 5th edition, that's the number one thing that I was just like, I had a hard time. The first time I ever played 5th edition was with you guys.
Yeah,
And that was
nice.
the one thing I was like, so what is it? I even sent you a few emails. I was like, my armor class seems low. Like, I don't know. I don't understand how this system works. And when we were playing, I'd be like, I'm level 4. But it's like,
Yeah,
so you're just rolling regular? What's
16
happening?
AC.
Yeah,
those-
AC doesn't make sense at 5th edition. Because there's no way to express it's like, really? My guy is just as easy to hit at 10th level as he is at 1st level? Like, that doesn't make any sense. But it's because your proficiency should increase your AC. But it doesn't in 5th edition. But it does in Pathfinder, which is why you have much higher ACs. But it also represents the skill of whoever you're fighting or whoever's being targeted much better.
But once you get to a certain point, if you're doing plus 15 or more to a D20, you've skewed it so horribly at that point, right? Because I don't know. It seems like once when you're adding as much to the dice as you're already rolling, are you really randomizing?
But that's why you have to still be fighting creatures that
That's
have
why
that.
that's why the bad guys have to scale.
Yeah,
with
they
you.
have to scale as well, right?
Because it's not about, really, when you get down to it, the game's designed from a tabletop RPG, it's nothing about what you roll on your die. It's nothing about the number that's rolled there. It's about the percentages between the disparity of who fighting and who's fighting who.
It turns into just a math.
There's a magic number, and I was watching. I can't remember which one. I think it was Dungeon Crawl. I think it was Professor Dungeon Master, but it might have been the Lazy DM. I don't remember. It's one of those two. So if you guys are watching, it's one of you two. Thanks a lot. Anyway, the magic number is if you want players to feel like they're having fun and they're hitting a little bit more than 50% of the time, then basically you want them to be able to roll an 8 or higher, and that's a hit. And so you scale the game. You try and get the game to be where, okay, the difficulty to hit this monster should be within their abilities, their skills, bonuses range, plus an 8 or higher on the die.
Because I have always found that that adding hit points is a lot more effective at adding drama than adding AC. Because higher AC just makes things boring. Because everyone's missing all the time.
I missed.
They'd rather do, I hit and I do 50 damage 70 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
Even though,
Everybody
what's the
hates
difference?
missing.
Right.
Yeah, that's what everyone, if you read any boards or anything about Pathfinder, the one comment everyone says is the math is super tight.
It is.
Like, it's very tight and very
But
balanced.
is it balanced without making it seem homogenous?
Yes,
I
it
feel
is.
like that's what happened in 4th edition. It was balanced and then so homogenous. I felt like it was one flavor. The entire thing was one flavor.
Yeah, I was actually going to mention this earlier, but we kind of changed topics.
Yeah.
But the encounter design in the dungeons in the GM core is really cool because they don't necessarily build encounters off of CR like they do in D&D. It's you have your party level +1 or +2, and then there's different weights depending on how you think. And when you first look at the set of tables, because there's these 3 small tables that you use to build your encounters, and at first it looks kind of intimidating, but then you read it and you're like, oh, this is super easy. And yeah, it maths out and it works and it works really well.
Yeah, it's good.
And you don't get weird skews like you do at the high levels of Dungeons and Dragons or the low levels of Dungeons and Dragons. It scales well, and yeah, the math is all tight, which is why in something like the feats, you don't see a lot of feats that add combat bonuses. You have spell effects that'll add combat bonuses, but like they keep it tight so that the encounters always are fun.
Well, plus and the +2 you get from being flat-footed or causing somebody to be flat-footed, and then that rolls over to other people and stuff actually makes a difference.
Yeah, and
because
those
it gets them a chance to
do something
to get a crit.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I can still get a crit if I'm 10 or higher. Right now I'm really close, but I need to roll like a 19.
Right.
You give me a +2. Well, now all of a sudden I can crit on a 17 to 20.
Yeah, so when your rogue puts flat-footed on somebody, your cleric puts bless on the party, and then somebody else does clumsy or
Yeah, they really matter.
like all these little ones and twosies from everybody. All of a sudden you're at +6.
See, and that was
And you're like, oh, okay.
Crit.
Yeah.
So that crunch is one of the reasons the Critical Role went to 5th edition
Yeah.
when they went live, because chasing all those floating modifiers is hard.
Yeah.
And Matt didn't want to have to do it,
They were
even though he's
Pathfinder
probably
originally.
one of the
Yeah,
best.
they were Pathfinder.
well,
He
but
was
they
probably
were.
one
They
of
were
the
playing
best
Pathfinder
trigger
first edition,
DMs
though.
I have ever watched.
Yeah.
When you watch it, he never misses a trigger.
That's
of
what I was about to
any
say.
kind.
Is Pathfinder First Edition is
It was
crazy crunch.
It was a lot harder to follow.
It leaned even more aggressive crunch than second. Like it was very crunch. It was like 3.5 on
Yeah, and I think
steroids.
Plus a little bit more crunch.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, yeah.
help me remember here. I think Pathfinder 2nd edition came out like 2018,
No clue. We have an internet.
2017.
It was recent.
Yeah, I think 18 or 19.
Yeah.
Like, it was recent. I've been playing. I'm like, oh, wait. That's not that recent. But
I think 18 or 19.
Yeah,
that's when you're
so-
celebrating the 30th
And as far
anniversary.
and as far as like when you compare that to Dungeons and Dragons, the 5th edition came out in 2014.
Right.
And so like it's at a really good spot in its lifespan right now.
Oh, it's hit me.
Pathfinder
with
2nd edition.
The newest edition next year.
Yeah, it's got a good lifespan. It would be hard, and it would be nice because it is a lot of looking up for. So here's the problem with switching to Pathfinder is that it will be a lot of looking up rules.
2018.
And
2018. Okay.
if that's the stream that people want to watch, then,
Oh, no.
then
18 was a playtest. 19 was a
19
Oh,
was
okay.
came out.
Okay, great.
Okay. The first several sessions are going to be a really just a bunch of like reading rules out. So, but maybe that's what people want to know though, because it's
or you
such a obscure,
play like
We can play-
starter offline.
Yeah, we can play an
Yeah.
untelevised 3-session game.
Yeah.
Play the beginner box.
Well, here's the thing. The other thing you got to remember too is, in all reality, we're not putting out an episodic show that people are trailing every single week.
No.
So for us to stumble through the first 3 sessions,
Hey,
just
come
be
on.
like, "Hey, deal with it, guys."
We've got like 4 viewers that watch us every week.
I
Watch us
know.
live, yeah. we have
They're all related to us.
for the
but-
record, we have 4 that watch us live, and one of them is the store upstairs. But there are anywhere between 30 and 40 people that watch us during the week.
Sure.
That come in and watch us and stuff, which is kind of fun.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
great.
the YouTube channel, which check us out, Dragons Keep TV on YouTube. You're probably, like we just pointed out, you're probably actually watching this on YouTube, and so if you are, then come check us out on Twitch, Dragons Keep TV, and see what it's like live.
I think there's a lot of, to be completely fair, I think there's a lot of people.
They may actually like that kind of granular.
Well, not only that, but I think there's a
exposition.
lot of questions right now about Pathfinder.
Sure.
I think a lot of people want to know how to play it. I think a lot of people are interested in learning how to play
Hey,
it.
you could also.
The whole OGL, just when the OGL thing blew up, Paizo sold out of every book they had in
For
stock.
9 months worth of stock in a
Yeah,
day.
sold
Yeah,
out
really?
like that because everyone was like
We're done.
abandoning ship.
Yeah.
So they sold out of all of their stock in this
So the OGL fiasco happened back in mid-spring,
No, it was
early summer.
it was beginning of last year. It was January and February.
Okay, January, February last year. And they didn't have players' handbooks in stores until 2 to 3 weeks ago.
I'm so mad that I missed out on the Humble Bundle for Pathfinder. because they
I think
had
there's one now.
everything. Is there another one now?
But I think
It's the remastered stuff.
Well,
no. I
this
think
is,
it's the old stuff.
I was going to say,
But the content would still be fine.
It was
Be good enough.
every adventure path too,
Oh.
for like $30 for the expanded pay or whatever, $35 or $40.
Every adventure
You got
path.
every
Going back to
adventure
first
path.
edition.
Oh, I don't know.
First,
It
second
was a
edition,
lot.
I think it was
That's
just second
crazy.
edition.
It was basically like a everything Paizo humble bundle, and I was like, oh, I'll sign a reminder, and I didn't.
They put that up
I
because they sold out of all their physical product.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're like, hey, sorry, but we got this. You guys want to do this? And they're like,
They have
yeah.
a subscription service
Yeah.
where they'll just send you, if they make a new book, they send you the book and then
They
you get
do
access to
have
the
a humble
PDF.
bundle for Pathfinder Second Edition Legacy Bundle
Yeah.
that has
I heard there was a
Age of Ashes.
great one.
It has the Advanced Player's Guide. It has the Game Mastery Guide.
if we do go this route, I was going to suggest what we may want to do is invite people to watch
Yeah.
who are Pathfinder players and have them comment in the stream, and then we may want to ask for a volunteer to be in here
Oh, yeah,
watching comments, so that when we are making gaffes, or we could even just broadcast, hey, I'm not sure the rule on this, chat would hit it up faster than we could ever
Right.
Google it.
Just have someone be a rules
Rules
lawyer.
lawyer.
standby.
Yeah,
Standby.
Just, and we'd only need
So
it
it's
for
Age
a
of
couple of
Ashes.
weeks.
That's
Which
a
is-
6-volume adventure path.
Yeah.
It's the first one they released on second edition.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It's got flaws, but it's on the whole
a good one.
fantastic.
I have Extinction Curse, all 6 volumes.
That's a good one.
Of Extinction
it's about
Curse?
a traveling circus.
Yeah,
you're like a
I've
traveling
never played
circus
through it.
band.
I've never
What?
played through it.
Yeah, you're like
fun.
a traveling circus troupe. I don't know the full story, but it's something to do with that.
That's what's on the cover of the first one is a circus.
Huh. That's cool.
Yeah, maybe that's just how it starts.
And you got
I
a
don't know.
bunch
I've
of-
never actually played that
There's a bunch
adventure
of
path.
maps and stuff. So yeah, Age of Ashes, the core rule
Sorry.
book,
Yeah.
and
The new core or the old one?
the old core. The second edition
I have
legacy second edition.
I have
That's
3.
what they're calling this.
I'm sitting on 3.
It's 90% race.
Yeah, I'm sitting on 3 player, like the remastered core player's handbook at home right now. Me and my wife each got one of the sketch covers, and then I also got a special edition cover with my subscription.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so, like, I've got books I can pass around if people
Yeah.
want to look
Well,
at them.
We have the core. We have the
Jared
gave us
very,
a nice-
very kindly gave that to us last year for Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You're right.
And then they went and made new ones.
Yeah.
Now I gotta buy new ones for you guys.
It's been well used. So
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, my friend's game, we're playing it now, and it's fun, and I really like the cool monsters and all their abilities, and so that's been
Well, if you're
It's like-
getting up in the experience to do that there, that I think the rest of us can come up to speed really quick. I know I could in
I
a
look up
session. I'm
everything.
sure.
So everybody, what I mean though is like in D&D, if I'm playing with somebody that doesn't know their character very well,
You can
I can
play
help
it,
them.
yeah.
I can help them with their characters.
Mhm.
But like when we were trying to figure out your alchemist character,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I have no idea. And so for you to try and play the alchemist character, which I have since learned is the worst choice in the world.
It's the
to
most
play.
complicated.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's the
Love
most
it.
complicated and
ineffective.
It doesn't do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Second edition?
Yeah.
So,
So-
my,
Alchemist.
my recommendation, if we're going to do Pathfinder Second Edition,
So you got to know your character. Like you
Yeah.
have to know your character.
Yeah.
if we're going to play Pathfinder Second Edition, I think it would be my recommendation to pick a character class out of the current core remastered book,
Yeah.
which
If you
isn't-
guys are really doing this, I might try joining virtual again.
All right.
and granted, that's not everything, but there's like 8 classes in that book, or 9 classes.
Yeah, there's plenty to bite on.
Yeah, and like I said, the book is way better organized. It's a lot easier to find stuff. There are some good resources where we can quickly look up a rule. You know, you pointed out 2 earlier, Archives of Nethys and
PF2 Easy
and PF2
is
Easy.
the best. Rule
Yeah,
like
I
if you
know
want,
about
what are the
PF2
rules for wands? You type in wands, it'll actually from the rule book.
Yeah.
Just lay it all out for you.
Archives of Nethys has been good for that, but it also, like, too often will just say, see page something or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, crap, come on. I know I've read this
PF2
in
Easy
here.
is
Where is
fantastic.
it?
Now there-
any even like the named creatures from
Yeah.
an adventure path that
Right.
are unique, you just type it in there.
Yeah, because the Major Domo only exists in Abomination
Yeah, all the
Vaults.
stats will come up, the
and
source material.
And another cool thing about Pathfinder is is in the core rulebook they kind of separate things by tiers of play just a little bit. So when you're building a character, you as the GM can say like, look, only build your character using the common options. Because there's common options, uncommon options, rare options. And if you're using an app like Path Builder to build your character, like it lists them all, but it's totally fine to just say, hey, this is our first time playing the system as a group. We're just going to use the common options.
Right.
And you could still build something fun and exciting and cool. Like, it's...
Yeah, they
It's
have
great.
they're building something like D&D Beyond for Pathfinder
Yeah.
called the Nexus.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it has I don't know what character options are in there right now, but there are some
Right now-
third-party apps that are great,
Yeah.
like Path Builder.
Path Builder we use.
If you're gonna run it in Foundry's character building for Pathfinder is top notch.
Is it?
It's fantastic. The game the Abomination Vaults game I play it's done entirely in Foundry.
Cool.
All the options are there. It's really top notch. But this has been the Pathfinder second editions sponsored by
By
Right,
Red
that and
Bull.
Star Wars.
But I hear what you're saying about the monsters too, because it's like everyone has its own almost like a mini game, like there's
Kind of, and
there's a leech creature later in
Oh,
Abomination
yeah.
Vaults that after you vanquish him, he collapses into leeches, and then everyone has to go around and try to stomp on all the leeches, or a few days go by and he just comes back.
That's crazy.
So it's they all have little unique quirks that make them
Right.
different than just we need to make this monster hard. Okay, let's just turn up the damage they do and make the save harder.
One thing that's fun is that one of the players is playing a thaumaturge, and they have an ability to just know sorry just know what a monster's they can roll to see what the monster's resistances and weaknesses and
That's
things like
kinda
that
cool.
are, which is actually really fun because players are more interested in monsters when they're trying to figure out what the best way is to defeat them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then they get really interested in
It
it.
creates, it creates a tablable way to investigate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
They have a bonus to do it because anyone can do a recall knowledge on any monster if they have.
they get a bonus. So yeah, anybody can
It's
do
like
a
an
recall
ability
knowledge.
they have.
It's a class feat that they get too, though, that or not a feat, class feature that allows them then once they do that, they can. So they're kind of like, The Mummy, the movie.
Yeah.
With Brendan Fraser, right?
Oh, okay. I was going to say which one, but Brendan
Okay.
Fraser mummy. Okay.
Brendan Fraser Mummy
I
movie.
just assumed you were talking.
Yeah,
about
the only one. So they've got the character Benny in there, right?
Oh, yeah.
And there's this scene where where he meets the mummy for the first time, and he's pulling out all of these
Little
necklaces,
symbols?
and he's chanting things, and that one doesn't work. He's like, no, okay.
Yeah.
And he's tries another one, and then he becomes the Star of David, and then he realizes, okay. So the thaumaturge is kind of like that, where you basically
bunch of
once you
random
know,
items.
once you know the monster's weakness, the lore rule, whatever, is in one of your pouches somewhere, you're carrying a silver-tipped dart or a piece of silver. So
Right.
she uses this slingshot or a darts or whatever, and so it's basically oh, okay, she's just reaching in her pouch, she's grabbing this she needs silver.
The
then
utility
it's-
belt.
Yeah,
she
basically
has
she's
the utility belt
what do I got in
as a
here?
solution
Okay,
for everything.
So you can spend an action to.
I always felt that was difficult to. It would
Yeah.
ruin my suspension of disbelief when Batman would just pull this gigantic thing off of
Yeah,
the utility
yeah.
belt that was never there before.
You just carry around shark spray?
Yeah.
So she we rule it weird things I've got this silver fork. I'm I'm gonna use my slingshot with that, and then you can get past its resistances, stuff like
Yeah.
that.
You don't have to write down, okay,
No.
I have a silver fork.
No.
It's just all part of
The game just assumes that you have something that will be useful.
And you can flavor it if you'd like.
Once you know what the resistances are, then you flavor it however you want. And so we have a lot of fun with that, and the players really do like to know what the resistance is, what they're weak against.
Yeah.
Because then they'll start to be okay, let's see what we can do with this.
Right, because like you were saying before, the math was so tight.
Yeah.
It encourages you to be like, okay,
To
how do
seek that
we
kind
how
of
do we
thing
work
out.
together to beat this thing?
Yeah.
I give them when they get a recall knowledge right. I'll give them the creature type plus one piece of information. I let them choose. Like, okay, I want to know its armor class.
That's actually the rule, yeah.
I want to know
So-
this. And if they crit success, then they get 2. Let them but they get to choose what it is. Like, I play with the DM and just he decides to tell you, and I'm like, okay, it's a aberration. What do you want to know? And they're like, resistance, hit points, armor
This
class.
is legitimately like a little bit overpowered, but one of my favorite characters. Is
Recall
Thaumaturge.
knowledge is just a history check, basically. But like a really cool version of a history check.
Yeah. One that's got a game mechanic.
Yeah. Here's the rule. I'll put it up on the screen too. But
There's a feat. That,
it's called exploit vulnerability.
Oh, okay.
And sorry, let me just get it up on the screen.
Since I'm not on there.
Now, sometimes though, you can get in trouble because there are some times where you have stuff like dubious knowledge.
Yeah.
Where
That's
like
part of this too.
you
where
can
you've gotta-
recall something, but it might not be exactly accurate.
Yeah, you've got a 50-50 chance of messing it up. So
Yeah.
you scour your experiences and learning by identifying something that might repel your foe. You retrieve an object from your esoterica with the appropriate supernatural qualities.
I see.
Then use your implement to stoke the remnants of its power into a blaze. Select a creature you can see and attempt an esoteric lore check against the standard DC for its level. And they have a table.
And that's check Loris. You get that at class creation.
Yeah.
I get it. Okay, I get it now. Because
So, yeah, it could
normally, depending on the creature type, you need a different skill to do a recall knowledge. But this
Right.
is like esoteric lore is like a
Yeah,
broad
it's-
brush, and it's going to be at your maximum
Yeah, it's his class
skill
feature.
bonus.
Yeah,
'cause
it's
a
almost
class
like
feature,
I know
yeah.
that all aberrations
That's
are
very
weak
cool.
to holly.
Yeah.
Holly branch, wham, in your face.
And then
That's very cool.
And then you use your implement, which is kind of fun too, but you can also, if you get a critical success, actually I think it's a success too. If they're not weak to anything in particular, you like convince them, story-wise anyway, you convince them that they are weak against something, and then you use that to attack them, basically.
It's like, hey, remember this?
It's called a personal antithesis. And yeah, you're basically like convincing them that like I don't know. It's kind of like the
Like a cross
go
for
with movies again,
Dracula.
right?
How about a
Go
little
back to-
fire, Scarecrow?
Yeah, exactly. So you can use
Except
that to
he really was
create
wrong.
a weakness, which is a little bit. That's where it gets a little bit overpowered. Is like all of a sudden now I can create something that you're weak 5 against or something like that. Right?
Yeah.
I see.
But if you fail, you can't do that, and if you do a critical fail, you actually become flat-footed.
Yeah.
Because you're like spending so much
Looking,
time like
trying
rummaging
to
through
find it.
stuff, trying to find things that you're trying to get. So
I like that. That's
It's good. It's good fun, and in a group, there's only 3 people in the group, so it's nice to have somebody that's a little bit overpowered in this and can identify for the rest of the group like what the weaknesses are, and then exploit them and stuff. That's a lot of fun. So.
Yep.
And Pathfinder is very much a game where you have to work together, like we were talking about with those bonuses that start to add up.
That is 100% true.
You-
it is
you-
a team tactics
Yeah,
game.
it is not like D&D. You can have the one paladin your paladin rogue that comes in and smites, backstabs, and does all this stuff and just like obliterates people. Pathfinder, like you have to work as a team to defeat whatever it is you're working at,
Yeah.
or you're all dead. Like it's very much. If you've got buffs, you better give them out.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, and it's okay to help other people.
Well, should we talk about another difference?
What's another system? How about I played a lot of Hunter.
What's
I played-
everyone's
I played
system they
D10s.
want to play
Well-
the most, but they haven't been able to yet?
Okay, yeah.
Oh,
What's that?
that's a good question.
I can tell you a system I really
Probably
love.
Pathfinder too. I'm trying to play, and
So-
Speaking of Pathfinder,
I think we've all played this system at the table. It's been a long time since we've played it, but I honestly really do love Advanced Dungeons and Dragons 2nd Edition.
Oh.
Like a lot of people give it a lot of shit. A lot of people are like, "Oh, it's crunchy, it's old, it's not very good." But I've been playing it a lot in the last year, and it's a lot more fun than I think a lot of people remember.
Well, no, I mean it's why it was that game that created what we have today. I mean,
Yeah.
it created the basis of knowledge that everyone looks back on and goes, "I want that again." Whatever that is, how can I make
And
it feel like
it's
that?
great because it can be it can be as crunchy or as light as you want it to be, and it's just good. Like they took out because like imagine what 5th edition would be like today without without perception. Right, your descriptions would be different. Your interactions with the world would be different.
Mm-hmm. Well, they were.
Yeah, Advanced 2nd edition doesn't have perception, but it still has a bunch of other cool stuff. And so like there's some, I think that there's a point where a game can get where you
Is that
have
the system like Baldur's Gate and those other games were built on?
So Baldur's Gate 1
Back in the day, yeah.
Baldur's
Yeah, I
Baldur's
think it
Gate
was, right?
1 was built on Dungeons and Dragons Advanced 2nd Edition. Baldur's Gate 2 was a weird hybrid system.
Yeah.
And that was also Pools of Radiance, if you ever played that one.
Yeah.
That was
Heck
based
yes,
on-
I did.
Pool of Radiance was
How
fantastic.
many discs in that one circle thing that you had
That
to
was
put
the
in the
first edition,
passcode
right?
to
Wasn't
launch it?
That was
First
second.
edition?
No,
But if you want to go play it back, if you want to
There
play
are no feats in Pool of Radiance.
No, so maybe you didn't have all the optional rules.
One
so
a
maybe it was
really
just second
fun
edition.
old Baldur's Gate style game that was made at the same time, but a lot of people forget about, that had a much better engine than Baldur's Gate, but was made by the same people using, I think it actually used an Advanced 2nd Edition rule set, was the Icewind Dale games.
Oh,
Yeah.
Icewind Dale was fantastic.
They were
Those were
really good.
Really good. Ryan, what's yours? Game
Mike,
you want
I
to
think-
play the most?
I think
you
this is
haven't-
Mike, right? 05AD.
Yeah, OH5AD. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was his helicopter.
Mike is saying we should play the new 5e with all the play tests. We should go through.
So he wants us to
Every
play
rule.
the 2024.
Yeah. That doesn't surprise me because he likes the crunch of he's spent a lot of time creating characters in
And again,
5th edition.
I would be fine playing that game, but if we want to play something different,
Yeah.
then that's great too.
I would totally be down with either the Star Wars or Pathfinder, and whether we do homebrew or an adventure path.
Wait, I need an answer to my question from Ryan.
On what
System
what
you
other system? So
want to play the most but haven't been able to yet.
I don't know much about Fantasy Age, but I always enjoyed Will Wheaton's show that he did, Titan Grave.
Well, it's not a dice game if Will Wheaton likes it.
He's-
It's the truth because that
he
guy
was the
has
DM,
bad
so
luck.
he
It's
was the
great.
DM, so it didn't.
Okay.
But it seemed like an interesting system that had, like if you rolled a certain number, you could spend points to do some extra cool stuff that like added the narrative things to it. You got to narrate like what cool thing you were doing that was above and beyond where you're going.
So it's got a little bit of bad roll protection.
Yeah, a little bit of that.
Which I can see why that would be important for Will Wheaton.
Yeah, but it's more just like good roll bonuses. How about
Sure.
that? There's also the Stormlight Archive game coming out sometime next year. They're gonna
Oh, I didn't
kickstart it.
know that.
That's
Who-
Brandon
got to play
Sanderson's
test.
game.
Is he actually involved in its creation, or is it someone else?
It's Brotherwise Games that's
Okay.
making it. I got to play test the week that I missed.
Uh-huh.
I was up at the Sanderson Con, the
Does that-
Dragonsteel Con, and got to play test that and ran like 3 or 4 sessions for people.
Am I crazy, or is there's a Mistborn based game too, isn't there?
There is a Mistborn RPG that kind of sucks.
Oh, okay.
It's not great. There's a lot.
It would be hard. It would be hard to realize those powers in a game system.
Yeah,
Like,
and
oh my gosh, that would
and
be
so
hard.
they lean into like you kind of do whatever you want kind of thing, and then you and the storyteller instead of the game master, the storyteller and you.
Oh, it's a more
decide
narrative based game.
what's going to happen. And you do have some rules and stuff like that. I only played it twice. The rule. You thought the Pathfinder 2nd edition rulebook was big and like just fat. Like this one looks like a Brandon Sanderson book,
Oh wow.
and it's just one book.
Oh,
And it's
wow.
like I could.
Was
bring
it
in
all
sometimes.
lore? If it's mostly a narrative game?
I don't know. It's crazy. I didn't read. Obviously, I didn't read it all the way through. I got it far enough to like do the sample, build the character stuff, and stuff like that. It wasn't very fun.
Well, when does the Brandon Sanderson system come out?
They're going to
For-
kickstart it sometime in the summer or end of summer. So we've got time.
Yeah, I was gonna say
It's
we
not
could do
gonna
a
be
one shot on that
yeah.
one when it does a Kickstarter. We could
It was
do
a
a
lot,
special
and
Saturday. or
that was a
something.
lot of fun, and they had rules for playing Knights Radiant and all sorts of stuff. That was
That's
kind of
awesome.
cool.
Did you have a system in mind that you wanted to play but haven't had a chance yet?
Yeah. Either Fallout, which has a really cool RPG that
Okay.
I just read the book and it looks really interesting. It's really
Yeah,
looks fun. I've always liked that world, but But I think 40K Wrath and Glory is probably
Dan loves,
actually any of the 40K Rogue Trader.
Yeah.
Any of them would be awesome. I like the whole. I don't think I could ever actually play a full blown miniatures 40K.
They're running games out.
I see that.
That was crazy.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. I don't know that I.
That's how D&D started. It started out as a game called Chainmail.
Yeah,
that was
and it was a
war
miniatures game, and then they moved into.
I just don't know if I could. I don't know if I could do it. And I don't know why.
It does look fun, and I've heard good reviews of it.
But the RPG would be.
Yeah, I'm talking about the RPG.
Yeah, so it would be awesome. I'd love to play a good. I have played the fantasy RPG. I played that one. It's great. It's
cool.
Super. Death comes fast and easy. It's just like the world and the lore. But the 40K one seems pretty awesome.
Another one that I've played. It's only got 4 books, I think, and I have all of them. But there's another one that's kind of it's more of a high fantasy world that I've played. I've played one game of it and I found it enjoyable. It's called Endless Realms.
I don't know that one.
It's not super well known. It's a D10 system.
Okay.
Artwork is beautiful.
So when you say D10, is it multiple D10s, or is it like a couple of D10s you're just trying to get numbers are higher kind of thing, or is it?
There's a little bit of variation based on the class.
Okay.
But it's kind of like, you could kind of think of it as like a...
Like, are you counting successes, or are you...
You're not counting successes.
Okay, not like Vampire or Hunter.
No, it's not like that.
Okay.
It's not a narrative system. It's not a success fail based system. It's definitely more like a D20 based system, but with D10s.
All right.
I really enjoyed it. It'd be a lot of fun, but it's definitely a very high fantasy based world where most of the races are based off of animals.
Oh, okay.
So, that's different. There's a bunch of different animals and then humans.
I mean, that makes it pretty easy, right? Just any animal-human hybrid, or any anthropomorphized animal, call
so
it a
there's
race.
like lizard people.
We kind of do it in D&D already.
Yeah, there's lizard people. There's
D&D's exploded with all sorts of new races. Yeah.
There's lizard people. There's mole people. There's
why not?
fox people. There's all sorts of stuff. But yeah, that one's fun.
I did kickstarts. I did back a Kickstarter for Owojima, which is a 5th edition world that's a Studio Ghibli based one, a lot like what you were saying.
Oh, it's the feudal Japan
and
Ghibli.
Yeah. It's I'll bring it up.
Yeah, I think I saw a story come up in my feed for that like last week or the week before.
Tales from the Tall Grass. Anyway, it looks fun. My kids are very interested in playing it, so it looks like it'll be fun. But I think it's going to be more light.
That's a little bit different. That one actually reminds me of Break. The one.
This one looks a lot like Break. It's got some pictures and stuff.
Who's the studio behind it, or is this just a group of guys?
It is 1985 Games.
Oh, okay. I don't know them.
They clearly weren't aware that 1984 was the best year
For games.
for anything.
For the whole world.
For everything. The whole world should be traced back to 1984.
Start a slow downward slide in Armageddon after 1984.
All the best movies. Can think of all the best movies. They all came out in 1984.
There are a lot of them, yeah.
Does that include the original Ghostbusters?
Yep.
Good.
Yep.
I saw a preview for the newest one.
The newest
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters. I want to say Endgame, but I know that's not the right word.
The one that already came out?
No, that's Afterlife.
It's
Yeah,
winter. It's cold. It's
Afterlife was.
Afterlife was good. No, Afterlife was good.
fine.
No, it's the
I
newest
got all the
one.
feels when the old boys showed up on the
So
screen.
Afterlife.
Yeah.
So
I was
the one
like, let's go.
The last one he was talking about. The one he's talking about is the sequel to Afterlife.
Ah, I didn't know that. I didn't even know they were doing
coming
that.
out
I just saw it. Come on, I want to go see Godzilla.
Shows what I know about Ghostbuster lore. Is there a Ghostbuster RPG?
There probably is.
Let's go! Yeah. But it's more like the real Ghostbusters cartoon from the early 90s, not Ghostbusters.
Let's not get into the
Is it
real
the one
Ghostbusters.
with the fake voices and like the nobody? And
They were like the GoBots of Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
They were the GoBots of Ghostbusters.
Okay, here's the movies that came out in 1984.
could-
Ready? Terminator, Karate Kid, Temple of Doom, Gremlins, Ghostbusters.
Oh my god, you're right.
The Ewok Adventure came out in 1984.
Oh,
Dune,
love the Ewok
Dune,
Adventure.
Never Ending Story, Footloose.
Never Ending Story too. Wow.
No, Never Ending Story. Yeah, came out in 1984.
Never Ending Story as well.
Ice Pirates, Spinal Tap,
Ice Pirates.
Top Secret, Revenge of the Nerds. The Ice Pirates. Remember that one?
That was all in 1 year?
Yeah.
You know what might also be
That's
fun?
insane.
Is
Go for a
Purple
whole
Rain.
quarter of a year.
Red
to
Dawn.
hope to get one.
Oh, Red
good
Dawn was in
movie.
84? Holy
Red Dawn.
you know what also might be fun that I don't know if any
Conan
of
the Destroyer.
that I don't know.
No way! For real?
Do you know that
Beverly
I
Hills
don't?
Cop.
Another game that
Well,
might be fun.
Destroyer's,
One.
Destroyer's the bad one.
Yeah, that's true.
Another game that might be fun that I don't know any of us has played. We could see if we could get our hands on like a Transformers
Is it
tabletop RPG.
Transformers role-playing game?
There has to
I played Robotech.
The core
and the Aerotech
rulebook
one.
training manual for Ghostbusters role-playing game is available on eBay.
Okay, how about who have you played the old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
be. I've not
Game.
played the
Didn't
Ninja
play
Turtles
that
one.
one, huh? I played the old arcade
never
game.
played that
Oh
one.
yeah, and I played the NES
That one.
The NES one that kicks your
Yeah.
butt when you get to the water level every time.
Yeah.
Water levels are always the worst.
In the
Last
game,
Starfighter.
the Ghostbusters have created
Last
a
Starfighter was
corporation.
84? No way!
They created a corporation known as Ghostbusters International, which sells Ghostbusters franchises, and you
And you
run
become a franchise.
a Ghostbuster franchise.
Wow.
Busting ghosts, huh?
Oh, that's fantastic.
Trying to.
Talk about LARPing, dude.
Yeah.
4 traits: brains, muscle, moves, and cool.
Tell them about the Twinkie. What about the Twinkie?
Cloak and Dagger.
Oh, this
Did
is
you watch
great.
Cloak and Dagger?
Oh, Cloak and Dagger was 84 too?
Yeah.
Is that from the
Good
Cloak and
night.
Dagger comics?
No.
Oh,
it was a terrible. This
Oh.
kid imagines like he has fantasies about this spy,
Yeah, it was a spy RPG they were playing.
and then
So it's like a futuristic version of Mazes and Monsters.
well, but then it becomes like real. Like then it really does get
Oh.
involved in this thing and stuff. Anyway, but kind of like that where
I
like
wonder if there's a
he keeps
Time
getting
Bandits role-playing
people.
game.
He gets in trouble for his imagination all the time, and like blames it and stuff.
I
Yeah.
bet there is.
Time bandits.
I'm sorry, I'm stuck on Ghostbusters role
I
playing.
know.
The first adventure created Hot Rods of the Gods.
hot rods.
I think you've just found a whole bunch of new PDFs to add to his library.
Oh, I gotta find these.
The first Nightmare on Elm Street came out. If we're talking about horror movies.
The basic
iconic
dice pool
film.
mechanic. The first was the ghost die. The second mechanic, brownie points. Boy, Wikipedia. Somebody really did a labor of love on the Ghostbusters RPG Wikipedia entry. Oh, in 1989, 3 years later, don't worry, a second edition of the Ghostbusters RPG. It was that popular.
As we sit here as 4 RPG oldies, and none of us have played that game.
No. I did play the.
Never heard of
yeah.
it. For sure, there's a Transformers RPG.
There has to be. If there's a Ghostbusters one, there has to be a Transformers.
Okay,
it's actually,
okay.
That
What
84
about
for
the...
movies is similar to 88 for music.
Okay.
Just
Yeah,
so you know.
they got it. That's a Transformers role-playing. What about Robotech role-playing game?
So
Anyone?
yeah,
I've never
Robotech.
played that one.
I played that thing.
Yeah.
That was great. Transformer. Okay, what was the other one? That
Shadowrun's the only other system.
Oh,
I've
Shadowrun from back in the day, not new Shadowrun.
played. Not the new one, the Shadowrun, the first
The
edition.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles role-playing game was fun because they were just like wacky rules, like
Yeah.
basically all sorts of stuff. Like not anything goes, but man,
But now, did
you could create rules for anything.
Did you
That
play
was
a
kind of
turtle, or
system.
did you just play in the world of
You
turtles?
played in the world of turtles, so you could be.
Because they had
who was the
rabbits.
Rabbit? Who was the rabbit guy?
Yeah.
It was
They had the lizard
Ujimbo.
guy.
Musashi Ujimbo. or
Saki
whatever.
Ujimbo.
Yeah, and Yeah, so you played a mutant. You basically were any animal, but mutant. And then they had rules for fighting and stuff and everything, but it was just wacky, crazy stuff. And
So I could be an alligator?
yeah.
I think there was an alligator.
There was a crocodile, I think.
A crocodile?
Very similar.
Yeah, well, I mean, alligators are just the Spanish word for crocodile, what we call our...
What?
Did you know that?
No, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
alligator's just a Spanish word for crocodile.
I think crocodiles
And we've differentiated now in English because alligators are from Florida
and crocodiles are
and
from everywhere
crocodiles are
else.
from everywhere else.
Well, they are different animals.
Right,
They are
they are.
legitimately different animals.
For sure. It's kind of like the three-toed and the two-toed sloth. You know,
Yeah.
they do not have a common ancestor that were both tree-dwelling.
Really?
They both evolved from different lineages of ground sloths into... So something about their morphology saved them by going to the trees.
Literally everything.
We're talking about it.
I'm just thinking of
everything's-
random like stuff from my childhood to see
there's
if there's a role
like
playing
Care Bear. Care Bears.
Thundercats role playing.
Of course.
There is one. Don't worry.
What about He-Man?
Oh, Care
Oh,
Bears.
there's gotta be a He-Man.
Care Bears role playing game.
We're doing this. Hang on.
Care Bears the staring role playing game. This is so awesome. We
That had to have been
going
That had to
down.
have been produced by some Baptists,
We're going
right?
deep, deep
It's
down.
like a Bandai,
Yeah.
or old Bandai.
Masters of the Universe role-playing game.
Oh, that
Oh
would be
yeah,
fun.
that's a no-brainer. What about?
What were the rules of this?
Is She-Ra in that one as well, or
What
just
are
He-Man?
some toys my sisters had that I hated?
Although the
Rainbow
game is
Bright.
okay, wait, hang on.
Guarantee you
though.
there's a Rainbow
Oh, the
Bright.
game
Teddy
is a
Ruxpin?
role-playing game. There's no game master. It said players randomly determine monsters and other encounters every time they enter a new room.
Oh,
so it's a
Hero
roguelite.
Quest?
It's a roguelite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did it. We finally found one that doesn't have a role-playing game, and it is, thank you, Rainbow Bright.
Rainbow Bright doesn't.
There's no role-playing
Too
game.
bad.
There you go.
That's
Right.
war.
It's opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, let's land that license. You know, Rainbow Bright is in high demand.
How about gummy bears?
Oh, I bet you there is for gummy bears.
You think so?
I bet you there is because they rebooted the series at one point.
I didn't know that.
I
think they
know
did.
that was even a thing you could do.
I
with
used to
gummy
tell
bears.
my
I thought you
little
just ate
brother.
'em.
Unless I'm
Disney's Adventures of the Gummy Bears, the role-playing
The
game.
role-playing
Wow.
game.
So Rainbow Bright's the only one that struck out. You are right. We found our media space. We're doing Rainbow Bright. We're creating it.
Attributes,
For the next
strength,
season.
constitution, perception, etc.
We're just
Which game is this?
We're gonna create.
Gummy Bears?
Gummy bears.
We're gonna create a Rainbow Bright, but it's gonna be just hyper violent.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like invincible.
oh jeez.
Yeah. It's
just blood off the charts.
yeah. We're taking
And
Rainbow
dark,
Bright.
like
Yeah,
Mork Borg dark.
Or
Oh gosh.
That's one, Mork Borg, or however you're supposed to say it. Have you heard of that one?
I haven't heard of that one.
The rule book is about less than an inch thick.
Another big
It's the
one.
grimmest.
Pitchback apocalyptic fantasy RPG.
It's the grimmest. It's basically you're playing characters at the end of the world. Death comes fast. It's so fast and easy that there's on their website there's an archive of ready to play characters for when your first one that you made dies and
Yeah.
you need one to jump in. And I listened to a podcast of some guys playing a few sessions, and basically every day, some mechanic in it. Every day you play, you roll, and if you roll a certain number on the dice, one of like the 7 signs of the apocalypse happens, and they're all terrible. Like all water in the world turns to sludge.
Oh gosh.
I
Like,
wonder-
like that, or every firstborn child
This
in
is
the
a-
world dies.
this may be a
like,
bit
they're
blasphemous.
just terrible.
This may be a bit blasphemous, but I wonder if there's like a Bible role-playing game.
The Bible,
Oh,
the Old
wow.
Testament, the role playing.
wow.
Okay, there definitely is. There definitely is.
How about this? There are a couple of games I wanted to play that
Holy
I
Lands.
just want to play the intro, like the character
Role-playing
creation
game.
parts of it.
Oh, sure.
So
Marvel is a great one.
Marvel is a great
because
one.
that was fun.
Traveler is supposed to have a great like
Character creation.
character creation stuff.
Oh, isn't there a Brandon Sanderson game that you play and it
Testament.
creates your character for
There
you?
you go.
In a
Testaments.
in a world. I believe that there's like a game that you play.
That's funny.
And as you play, you draw cards and play them out, and you create a character.
Is that the card game one?
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called, but you can then take that character into other systems.
Okay.
Or into not other systems, but onward after that card game. Like the card game's the setup.
It looked like an 80s cover to me.
There's
Let's tell you when. Hold on.
They did do a Stormlight archive, Call to Adventure.
That's it.
Call to Adventure.
Yeah, Call to Adventure, because we had talked about doing that potentially.
There's probably several different Star Trek role-playing games, if anybody cares.
Yeah, there is, and they're really good too. If you're into Star Trek.
They have very similar structures to Dune, is what I heard.
Okay.
Is they're more narrative driven, and
Because Star Trek is.
but the systems are.
I know
like,
they have to be because the guy that I know that likes it says that they often play it on road trips. And so I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
While you're in the
Like
car?
he used to play it on road trips where the driver was the GM too.
Oh.
I'm like, I don't know how you could drive and be a GM, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely can't have a battle because who's tracking hit points?
I know, right? Shadow Dark is another one that's supposed to have a really good like session 0 type mechanic.
Sure.
That I wanted to try out too, so that might be fun.
Shadow Dark.
I don't know Shadow Dark.
I think
I
it's
would
Shadow
like
Dark.
to play.
So
I've never played Cthulhu. That's another one I'd really like to play. Things like a Cthulhu game.
So do we want to make a decision tonight on what we're playing, or
No,
at least get down to top
because we
three?
want to ask the other guys when they come in, but let's get a
Okay.
top 3. Pathfinder's in there.
Pathfinder 2E is in there.
We could do 2E. We could do advanced.
Oh, you mean AD&D
Yeah,
second
we could do
edition?
AD&D second edition.
Yeah, it'd be great
We
to
do
have
that.
that top three.
We could
And then-
play test all the new stuff.
So those, do you think those would be top three? The 2024 we would have to use playtest material until the 2024 handbook came out. in
Yeah,
May.
that's true.
But
we could play test stuff.
We could just play test games
Yeah.
until that comes out.
Yeah.
And just do one game a week. But I don't know the setup. We'd have to try to structure that setup a little bit better
Yeah.
because we can't just be sitting here rolling characters. That
No,
one
I
wants to
think what
watch
I would
that.
do is, or what I would suggest rather, is we play test characters, but still using the 2014 rules as far as like from a dungeon master standpoint until May. We would do the February, March, April, May. We would do a campaign that was 4 months long or 3 months long, and then was done. Then we would fully move over to whatever the 20.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. So pick a system, run it for 4 months, then.
Well, in the case of D&D,
Flip-flop.
in the case of the new version of D&D specifically,
Yeah.
for Pathfinder or AD&D, there's enough there that we could just run the whole year.
Just go. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, here's the question. You're the GM. What do you want to run, dude?
I don't know. Pathfinder would be fun to run
Because
too.
I think that's more important because you're the one that needs the inspiration. You have
Yeah.
to come here every week inspired. We just get to show up and go, hey, what am I doing today, dude?
I do like playing. I do enjoy playing in a. Surprisingly, there's less prep for me playing in a homebrew world than there is playing in an adventure.
Yeah, because you have to read so far ahead in the adventure and
in a homebrew world, everything's already right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, or it doesn't exist
matter
yet.
if you have to make it up.
Yeah. Like I can let you guys.
You can let ChatGPT run a session.
We won't do that. But,
that was
it was all right.
It was a good experiment.
It was a good experiment, and maybe in a year or two they'll be even better. But there's something to be said about the fact that like anything could happen.
Yeah.
That I really can just trust you guys to come up with stuff that I can run with.
Yeah.
And so all I needed are just good notes from the last session,
Yeah.
which we have because we're recording it. And so I
Yeah,
get to go
yeah.
and rewatch it. That's basically my prep, is like on Friday or something like that, while I'm working, I'll put the game on in the background and listen to the last session.
And the hot bits will catch you.
And then
Well,
I will. So Mike Shea, the lazy DM, has these 8 steps that he goes through, but really the most important one is just to write down what secrets or new things your characters would have fun discovering.
Sure.
And as long as I have that and a couple of monster ideas, then I can let you guys drive wherever these new secrets take you.
Mhm.
And I just give you some way stations, some pit stops along
Okay.
the way, and it's a lot of fun. So
Then I think with
for me,
those-
it's
I think with those ideas in mind, my suggestions, and there's just suggestions, so take them or leave them as they
Yeah.
are, would be D&D 2024, as we've already discussed, do a short campaign using the playtest material until the new core rulebook comes out, and then use that for the remainder of the year. Pathfinder, using the second edition, using the remastered rules,
Yeah.
and using the common options on character creation for the entirety of the year, or playing Advanced Dungeons & Dragons second edition, and then we would need to decide as a group whether we want to include the Skills and Powers books.
right.
Because for those of you watching at home or whatever who don't know, there are a series of 3 books called the Skills and Powers
And I never played with those.
and they're a bit derisive in the community. It can be super fun to play with them, but the purists in the advanced second
Well, it's
edition
just like
community
people no
don't.
feats, no feats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And the thing is there aren't any feats
Yeah.
in
Well,
any of those.
I'm just saying in the current iteration 5e, people complaining about
Right.
feats.
Yeah.
Same
Exact same thing. It's just basically it
Camera's
changes.
going crazy.
Mine is?
Yeah. I don't
Am I
know.
all nuts?
I don't know what
It
happened.
changes
There you
character
go.
creation. It introduces like a point buy system for different class features in the Skills and Powers book specifically. But there's also a combat tactics book and a Tome of Magic book and a few other things that are kind of included in that same group. Honestly, I think they're completely fine, considering like it doesn't change how deadly the game is. Like your guy can still.
Just gives you more.
It just gives the guys more options.
It would be fun to do a short. It would be fun to do a classic adventure.
Yeah, and if we wanted to do a
Like-
basic or an expert set game, I'm fine with that too.
Not like Temple of Elemental Evil.
Keep
That's
on the
super
Borderlands.
huge. But yeah, maybe something.
Like
Yeah.
an old school,
Like an old school adventure,
B1, keep
Yeah.
on the Borderlands. Or
Well, there's an adventure path.
or G123 against the Giants.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
here's the thing: those are all connected modules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Temple of Elemental Evil is the first one, and then it goes into those, and it goes all the way through like the slave plane ones and into the Drow Underdark thing.
Oh.
Slave Pits of the Undercity.
Yeah, it goes through all of those.
It
It's
is
like
that.
13 modules long.
Yeah.
Guys, listen. I have the answer to all your problems.
Yeah, we're just gonna play Pathfinder. It's fine.
The Buck Rogers role.
Oh,
There is not.
There is!
Scared?
I looked it up! It exists! Buck Rogers in the 25th century
century.
role-playing game. I will play Twinkie.
I had a
Beady, beady, beady.
I had a Buck Rogers video game when I was a
Did you
kid.
really?
That you had to. It was just a fighter plane that you were basically maneuvering through a slalom course.
But is
my
there a
gosh.
Galaxy Quest one?
That's
Oh,
awesome.
that'd be interesting.
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question.
Speaking of, I'm going to try and get the Galaxy Quest writers in town in 2025 for LTV, so that'll be
Oh,
fun.
nice.
That's
It is.
cool.
It is next year's the 25th anniversary of Galaxy Quest.
Are you the 25th?
What a,
This year,
what a-
It's there.
next year's.
What a great movie.
Galaxy Quest, the RPG.
Of course there is.
Danger,
No.
Will
Do you
Robinson.
play as
I'm finding
actors?
it. Let me see. Let's
Do you
see.
play as actors?
After system during.
I mean, that's past meta. That's
Yeah.
like
Oh,
meta game.
this guy posted, and it's like it's one page.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, so here it is. Character creation. Choose a name. You have no stats. You are incompetent at everything, including acting. System. During the game, character picks up irony points. Basically, whenever something goes wrong, you get irony points. Players are encouraged to suggest bad things that might happen to themselves or each other. The funnier the incident, the more you get. Yeah.
I don't
So
think
it's
we'd
just-
make it through
so
the
it's
first
irony,
session of that game.
Oh, and pomposity points. You can get those too.
Oh, good.
Anyway. So yeah, it exists. It's
So you-
pretty loose.
So those are my suggestions.
I like those.
Man.
All right, before we discover any other pop culture role-playing games from our past, I think we might call
way
it
down
for
a rat hole
tonight.
right now. So,
Thanks for everybody for watching. If you listened to this discussion and liked it, send us a message. Tell us what you think we should play. If you want to play with us, email me at dragonskeeptv@gmail.com, and we'll be starting up new sessions this next year. So look forward to that, and hope to see you. We love having guests on, and we love trying new things, obviously. So send me an email. Stop by the store. Come by the Orem store, or the Provo store, or the Lehigh store, or the Is it Spanish Fork? Spanish Fork store. Spanish Fork store.
Spanish Fork store is great. That's my home store.
Yeah, that's Jason's home store. Mine's here in Orem. My son works out in Lehigh a lot, and I like the Provo store too. That's my
Home store.
my
That's the way you think
home
of it.
store.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the Provo store, that's
It's
the
the
first
OG.
one. And that's where I spent the most of my time.
Yeah.
But when the Spanish Fork store was built, that's
The one at
that's
Muse.
closer to me.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well, we appreciate it. Tune in next week. We're gonna have a lot of fun trying to see who survives the final fight with Manzikori and the Shadow Leviathan. And we'll see you next week.